Am I the asshole for texting from my girlfriend's phone? My girlfriend was doing some time-sensitive work on her computer and asked me to go through her photo gallery on her phone and send her some images. As I was going through the photos, she got a text from someone that said, "Love you, princess. Good night. Heart emoji." I understandably got freaked out and started looking back at the text history. I didn't need to read a lot before seeing red. My girlfriend has been chatting with this person regularly, mainly about her day. He keeps calling her baby and princess and sending her lots of love and hugs and kisses. I feel shocked. I thought I had a great relationship with my girlfriend. I looked at the name again and suddenly remembered my girlfriend had mumbled it and something about chocolate in her sleep the other night. I could see this had been going on for a while. And I got really angry, so I sent a message to the guy about how he was scum for calling somebody else's girlfriend baby, and then I deleted the messages and blocked the number. This was an hour ago. I don't feel like I went too far, but now that I've cooled down, I've been wondering and wanting some outside perspective. In the comments, Cup of Cheesecake says, "You're the asshole. Are you sure it's a guy? Even if it was, you should have talked to her about it instead of texting back." It kind of sounds like the texts I send my daughter who is 26. Princess. Would a love interest call a woman princess? I don't think so. You're the asshole for doing not what she asked, but for just assuming the worst without talking to her and causing a problem where one might not exist. Lol, waiting for the follow-up where he finds out that it was actually the girl's mom. Oh, and you're the asshole. I mean, all signs point to he way overreacted in this situation and didn't get the full story before going scorched earth. So I'm with the comments here. I'm gonna say you're the asshole, OP, for not talking to her about this first, getting more evidence to make a better, more qualified decision than the rash and just very emotional one that you chose to do. You just immediately assume that she's cheating when it could have been anyone in her family that she had been talking to like that. And now, onto the update. So it turned out, I fucked up big time. My girlfriend came here as an international student and has relatives from other cultures. It turns out that what I thought was the affair partner's name was actually the word for aunt. Her elderly aunt that helped raise her, which is why the messages were so affectionate. Apparently, she makes a mean chocolate cake, which my girlfriend had been dreaming about the other night. I thought that this was complete bullshit, but my girlfriend made me read through all of her messages from the beginning, and I realized she was telling the truth. My girlfriend is pissed. Apparently, her aunt has been crying because of the message I sent and because I blocked the number. It took a while to clear the situation up. She cursed me out for 5 minutes and said I'm a total scumbag and it's over, and then kicked me out. Thanks a lot, Reddit. In the comments, Flyin' Duke says, "You're thanking us for your fuck-up, or for telling you that you fucked up?" He's blaming us. Well, it fits his MO. If I fail, blame the internet. It led me astray. I just read the edit, and I'm laughing. Dude, please learn multiple lessons from this huge tantrum and its very fair consequences. Women aren't possessions. Controlling other people by not letting them see messages sent to them or by blocking contacts on their phone is wrong. Anger is a valid emotion, but letting it out in an uncontrolled way is destructive and bad, and you're 100% liable for the consequences. If you have an issue in a relationship, deal with it in the relationship. Your update gave another reason you're the asshole. She's from a different culture, and acceptable terms of endearment and interactions vary by culture and region and family and individual. You didn't bother to check anything with her. At this point, all you can do is apologize unreservedly for being a suspicious, interfering asshole who treated her like property and not an equal partner in the relationship, and promise to do better. If you're normally a decent person, you'll learn from this, and I hope it works out in the end. Yeah, modern life as we're supposed to do it is appallingly lacking in intimacy and endearments. A lot of adults have developed close-knit friend groups that we think of like chosen family. Expressions of love and pet names are often part of that. Hell, my partner calls most friends sweetie, and I'm 100% chill with that. Yeah, I don't think he learnt his lesson from this one, and it's just an unfortunate consequence of acting before thinking. Especially given the fact that she's from another culture, and he didn't understand what the name on the phone was, you'd think, hey, something's going on here. I would like to get the full story from my girlfriend before I decide how I feel about this, because I don't understand what the name says, I don't understand who this person is, I don't understand anything. With this lack of information, maybe it would be best that I get more information before deciding to act. That seems like a normal thing to do, does it not? I, myself, don't understand why so many people lack critical thinking abilities. Truly an interesting individual that guy was. And he's still the arsehole, even after the update. Our next post is by user Complex Antita, and it's titled, "Am I the arsehole for telling people the real reason why I skipped my friend's wedding? I, 35 female, am still friends with some of the people I went to college with. One of them, Debbie, fake name 36 female, got married this past January after being engaged for 2 years. Early in the planning process, Debbie had asked my 6-year-old daughter, who was 5 at the time, to be the flower girl. We agreed, and she had the dress sent to us right away. We barely spoke about the subject for a while. Then the wedding was delayed by almost a year. The original date was in March 2024. I'm still not sure why. I've heard 3 or 4 different reasons, and by the time the actual wedding date came around, the flower girl dress did not fit my daughter anymore. We didn't find out until roughly 10 days before the wedding, which was admittedly my fault, and I texted Debbie right away to ask what I should do about it. Her first reply was figure it out. I tried to ask her where she'd bought the dress, where I could get a similar one, or whether it would be okay for my daughter to wear a different dress. I basically gave her a list of ways I could fix this and asked what she preferred. Debbie responded with, "I don't have time for this. Stop making your whale daughter my problem." Ooh, Debbie, hell nah. Obviously, I decided against attending the wedding after that. As far as I'm concerned, we are no longer friends. And to be clear, I know that up until this point, I was not the asshole. I didn't tell anyone about it at first, but our absence was obvious. My friends missed me, and my daughter was supposed to be the only flower girl. Whenever Debbie was asked about it, she apparently just said that we'd had an argument, but it wasn't a big deal. When our mutual friends and acquaintances asked me, I told them the truth, without sugarcoating it or trying to defend Debbie. I even showed my friends the text messages that proved everything. Everyone took my side. About a week ago, Debbie called me. She apologized for what she said about my daughter, but told me I have no idea how stressed she was at the time. She said it wasn't fair for her to lose friends over a mistake that she'd made when she was under so much pressure. Again, I don't think I was in the wrong for skipping the wedding, but I'm wondering whether I took it too far by telling our mutuals why. Edit, yes, I know I should have made the dress still fit sooner. I already know that that was my mistake, and I'm not blaming Debbie for it. That's not what I'm asking about. In the comments, not the asshole. Doesn't matter how stressed and overwhelmed you are, you never talk about a child or adult in that way. OP says, that's part of the reason why I believe that I might be the asshole. I don't believe that she would have talked about my daughter that way if she wasn't extremely stressed out. Obviously not an excuse, but certainly something that I have to take into consideration. Quote, stop making your whale daughter my problem. She actually said that? And you're asking if telling the truth somehow makes you an asshole? She spoke her truth, so why can't you? Now she has no friends and is trying to backtrack. Shake my head. Not the asshole, but you would be if you accepted her back as a close friend, even after an apology, quote-unquote. OP says, I won't. I will appreciate any apologies that come my way, but we are no longer friends. More on Debbie's behavior leading up to the wedding, OP says, I don't know much about how she was to other people these last few months. She was polite to me until what she said about my daughter. Out of all of our mutual friends, 2 of them would definitely stop being friends with anyone who spoke about a child like that. Would the dress still have fit had the wedding not been delayed? OP says, she sent us the dress in October 23. 5 months before the original wedding date. It was a little big on my daughter at the time, and I believed that it would have fit fine had the wedding not been delayed. It's possible. I remember her Halloween costume, also a dress, still fit her very well around April, and it was also a little big in October. I can't be certain, but I think it would still fit. I guess for my take, the reason why OP came to check if they're the asshole or not, that checks out, that makes sense, I get it. It's not always easy to know if you've said or done the right thing in a situation like this, because when you're in the midst of it, your radar for what is normal can be completely out of whack. I've been there, I've done that, I've got the t-shirt, I feel you there, OP. It's not easy. But still, at the end of the day, she called your daughter fat, didn't apologize for it, offered no helpful solutions at all that entire time, and now is upset that you told people what really happened after she, for some reason, should be allowed to lie to everyone. Right, so she can do a million things wrong, but as soon as you do the right thing, you're the asshole. Yeah, that makes sense, OP. That makes so much sense. I'm sure Debbie is just such a lovely person that has never had any red flags at all that you've just kind of glossed over or not recognized were red flags up until this moment. That's not shade on you, OP. That's shade on Debbie. I don't believe her to be so friendly as you claim. I feel like this would have been one of those it's bubbling underneath the surface and wasn't obvious situations until this happened where she called your daughter fat to your face. Screw Debbie, she got what was coming to her. You're not the asshole for defending yourself and your daughter. And now, onto the update. Hey guys, I wasn't going to update, but a friend of mine brought the situation up a few days ago, and I remembered posting here. After my post back in March, I didn't hear anything from Debbie for a while. I did speak to my friends a lot, and they told me she did try to continue to get them on her side for a while. From what I gather, her story always matched mine. I forgot to make sure the dress fit, I apologized and asked how she preferred I fix it, she insulted my kid, and as I remember discussing in the comments, whale of a daughter is a better translation, everyone continued taking my side. Apparently, I wasn't the only one Debbie had problems with before the wedding, my case was just the worst one. There's no doubt that the dress fiasco was my fault. I had a lot going on at the time, and several reasons why I forgot to make sure it fit sooner, but no excuse can change the fact that I messed up. But I still don't think giving Debbie options on how I could proceed was the wrong move. I've been a bride before, and I wouldn't want someone else to make a decision about my wedding without giving me the final say. And I can't ignore that her reaction was to insult my daughter. Debbie first texted me in June. She asked me to help her clear the air with everyone because most of our mutuals hadn't spoken to her since April. I was tired of all of this, so I told everyone that Debbie had already apologized to me. I made it very clear that while we're no longer friends, I sincerely don't care whether they remain in contact with her or not. She texted me once again early in July. She told me that a couple of our mutuals were talking to her again, but it wasn't the same as it used to be. She asked me whether I was still mad at her. I told her I'm not, and I wish her the best, but I don't think that we can continue this friendship. I said I was sorry for the dress fiasco, and I understood that she was stressed at the time, but I'll never be able to look past what she did. It would have taken her less time to give me directions than it took to call my daughter a whale. I can forgive rudeness with time, but not insults, especially towards my children. We haven't spoken since. I haven't blocked her, but I have no intention of reaching out again, and I don't think she does either. Some of our mutuals are speaking to her again. Both my best friends from that group want nothing to do with her. I sincerely don't care what anyone does. I won't pretend this never happened, but I've moved on. Like I said, I'm not mad anymore. My daughter will be a flower girl at my cousin's wedding in December, and my family is doing very well. Life has been crazy for a while, but things are finally getting calmer. I won't post here again. Thank you for your time. In the comments, what were the reasons floating around for the year-long delay on the wedding? OP says, I heard she had problems with her in-laws at some point, but I also heard that it had something to do with the venue. Early on, she also claimed that both she and her now husband were busy at work. I vaguely remember hearing at least 2 more reasons, but I don't remember them well and can't confirm anything. Someone else says, honestly, I love how adult you were over it all versus scorched earth. Can definitely forgive, never have to forget or be friends after being wronged. OP says, scorched earth tends to be more exhausting than it's worth, honestly, and I was already under a lot of stress at the time. I probably wouldn't have even told anyone what happened if I hadn't been questioned about it. Someone else says, good update. Glad your daughter still gets to be a flower girl for someone. Hopefully your ex-friend has done some serious reflecting on her behavior. All it takes is one thing said in a moment to ruin relationships forever. Absolutely. Don't say shit like that. Don't call your friends' kids fat to their face. That's never going to end well. That is just such a low blow for no good reason, and there is never an excuse for it. Maybe OP has some blame for the dress fiasco being OP's fault, but to me it looks like OP did everything that she could have to fix this in time for the wedding. Yes, you messed up by leaving it so long, but it's really not a big mess up, and in the grand scheme of things, it has no bearing on the problem that arose as a result of this. If Debbie had just not been a monstrous piece of shit, the dress fiasco wouldn't have been a fiasco. It would have been a minor bump in the road that you immediately fixed and got figured out in time for the wedding. And just like you said in the post, you don't think giving Debbie options on how I could proceed was the wrong move. I agree with you. You wouldn't want someone else to make a decision about your wedding without giving them the final say. That is the correct way to go about this situation. Her reaction was to insult your daughter, and she was wrong for that, and more often than not, and I don't blame you for choosing to not associate with her anymore, more often than not, there is nothing you can do when you make a blow that low. It's not on you to undo the damage to the friend groups that Debbie has caused. That's her fault. She needs to own that. If there are people that no longer want to associate with her anymore, that's her fault. She has to accept that and move on. It's sad that she keeps coming and being like, OP, you need to come and clear the air with everyone. No one wants to speak to me anymore. Why did you have to make this such a big thing? I don't know, Debbie. Why did you have to call OP's daughter a whale? Life could have been so simple. Our next post is by user Alarming Monk, and it's titled, I, 28 male, with my fiancée 27 female, about a month ago, overheard her tell a friend her previous ex was the best lover that she ever had. It was quite by accident that I heard this. We had a group of our friends over, and as the night went on, we all kind of busted out into little groups. Some of us were in one room playing Texas Hold'em, and a couple of others were watching the Lord of the Rings marathon. I thought she was watching the movies, but she and one of her close friends were actually sitting in the kitchen drinking coffee and talking. Our group had run out of soda, so I got up to go to the kitchen and get drinks and a couple of snacks. As I'm rounding the corner, I hear my fiancée talking, and before I completely come into the room, I hear her clearly say, Jason's great, but he'll never be the lover that Bill was. She then followed it up with, it's really not fair to Jason though. Bill was just really gifted down there. At first I thought about just walking back into the card game and pretending like we didn't have any extra soda or food, but I decided to make a kind of noise and go in. Her friend caught eye of me rounding the corner, and I could see her make a face to my fiancée letting her know that I was there. Of course, she has no idea that I heard her, and she just stops talking to her and asks me how I'm doing and if I'm having fun. I was tempted to say something like, I'm having as much fun as someone who's not gifted down there can, but I didn't. I just said yeah, and proceeded to get my stuff and go back and finish the night. I just acted like nothing was wrong the rest of the night and went to bed. Needless to say, it fucked me up. I mean, fucked me up bad. I've never been jealous or what you would call insecure about myself until that moment. I couldn't sleep that night, and I went through a myriad of emotions while laying there. At first I was angry, and then I was humiliated, and then I was depressed, and then I was angry again. Look, I realize that the male ego seems stupid to women, and even guys who are totally self-assured. I would have agreed with most of this prior to that night, but once it's been damaged, it's a bitch. I tried to hide any form of emotion about it or ever let her know, but as the days went on, I just kept getting worse and worse. I was avoiding her at all costs, and while she was suspicious, she didn't really say anything. That is until she attempted to be intimate with me a few days later, and I flat out rejected her. It wasn't by a conscious decision on my part, by the way. I had made the decision on my own to just try and get over it and move on, but in that moment, instead of being sexually aroused, I felt deeply inadequate and ashamed. Nothing was happening no matter how much either of us tried. She asked me what was wrong, and I just told her that I must have been stressed from work, but she wouldn't believe that or let it go. So, much to my humiliation, there I laid, naked in bed, unable to get an erection. I came clean and told her what I heard. Well, this didn't go over very well at all. At first she tried to tell me that I didn't hear her correctly, but I just repeated to her verbatim what she had told her friend. Once she couldn't deny it, she then tried to apologize, and to her credit, she tried to listen to my feelings on the matter, which once again, I'm sure was more of a big turnoff for her because I was a wreck emotionally. She tried to tell me how much of a better person I was and how I satisfied her and she wanted nobody else, but all I could hear was Charlie Brown's teacher noise. It's been almost a month and I have zero desire to be with her sexually. None. She's now getting frustrated about this as well, but no matter what I've tried, I just cannot get past this. It's not like she said that we were both good lovers or anything like that. She clearly said that he was far superior, and my guess is that being gifted down there means he was significantly larger than me as well. Well, I know I can do all kinds of things with my hands, tongue, and whatever else, but no matter what I do, I can't grow in size. Obviously, she refuses to talk about that with me, saying that no matter what, she says it'll only make things worse because even if she says something positive about me, I won't believe her, and she's most likely right. Some backstory here. He dumped her. It was not a mutual breakup. He flat out dumped her and broke her heart. I know this because early on in our relationship, she told me this. She said she wasn't ready to be serious about anybody because her previous ex left her and emotionally broke her. So this is not a case of me even being able to say, well, she's with me because she wants to be. If he hadn't dumped her, she would never have left him. Now I have no idea if after all of these years, she would leave me for him if he would come back, but I don't think she would. I just don't know what to do here. I can feel myself checking out of this relationship. I know this is petty as shit, but hearing the person you love tell someone else they prefer to have sex with someone else is just devastating to me. Her telling me all of my other good qualities has only made it worse because she's saying things that I think appeal to her and maybe other women, but being told that I'm a good provider and will make a great husband makes me feel like shit. Like, what would happen if I lost my good-paying job, or better yet, if I were to get injured and couldn't make anything more than estate assistance? Would she be there to support and help me? Basically, what I feel like right now is a really good friend who she's just allowed to have sex with. I know in my head that this is not correct, but in my heart, that is what I feel. I'm sorry for the length here, and I don't even know what I'm asking here. I'm totally lost, and if this continues, I think I'm just going to break our engagement. Edit. Holy God, I made this post last night and answered a couple of questions and then went to bed and got up today and went to Christmas shopping, hoping that it would make me forget my troubles, and didn't even log in until just now. I've not even started to read, at this point, 7.7 thousand comments on this post. I don't know what anyone has said yet, but thank you all for commenting either way. I'm now going to begin the massive undertaking of looking at the comments. Edit 2. Dear God, I read all the way down to the bottom of the page thinking that I'd gotten through most of everything, and then at the bottom it said, load the 5.5 thousand more posts. I'm stopping for the night. Well, morning actually. I'm going to respond to people individually, but there's just no way. I haven't even started reading the direct messages to me yet, nor have I opened any of the 20 chat screens. There are issues I want out there because there are a couple of things that are being said that are not accurate. 1. She was. to use the Barney Gumble phrase, using sweet, sweet drunk talk. In other words, her and her friend were drunk while talking. Nope, neither of us drink. We don't even have it in the house. 2, that I'm upset she told her friend. Well, this is an odd thing. Before I posted this, honestly, I wasn't that upset about this part. I was then, and am still far more upset that this is how she feels. However, now reading a lot of the post, I've become somewhat aggravated that she did share this with her friend. I would never say anything about her to anyone that would put her in a lesser light. 3, that I'm an insecure man-child that should just man up and learn to do better. Well, I'm certain that the first part is true, being insecure and dull, but the last part is just out of my control. No matter what I do, I will only ever be 7 inches long. We've talked about this, by the way. When she was trying to build me up, she said that I was already great with everything, but the one thing that I can't control. Okay, so I gave myself about a ½ inch to feel better, so what? 4, I'm not going to do anything rash. It's already been a month, so it's not like this happened last week, but yes, I have to decide what I'm going to do here before long. It's not fair to either of us if I'm just coasting through this and no longer committed. And 5, she's sorry that I heard it. She said she's sorry she said it, but at the end of the day, she would not be sorry if I didn't catch her saying it. It is what it is. But yes, I do believe she's regretting it because she's basically been a mess since I first told her. Me not wanting to be with her is bothering her a lot, according to her. I don't know how much of that I believe, but right now I guess I don't know why she would lie. It really has wreaked havoc on our Christmas spirit this year, I know that. Edit 3, engineer for those who keep asking what I do for a living. She's a paralegal. Edit 4, people have been asking about the relationship with the ex and how I know that she was heartbroken. We met about 9 months after they separated. I know that ultimately he wanted to be with someone else, although she claimed he never cheated. He just ended things so he could be with another woman. She approached me at a local workshop and we started dating. On our 4th date, when things started to get physical, she broke down crying about the ex. It was certainly weird to hold someone while they cried about someone else, but I did it. We sporadically dated for a couple of more months, in which time I never tried to cross any boundaries physically, because it was obvious that she wasn't over him, so while we just went out for dates, I tried to keep myself of the mind that we were just friends because I didn't want to commit either. After close to 2 months, she drags me from my car to her apartment and begins to tell me how much she appreciated my patience with her and how she felt stupid about dragging me along for so long. Obviously, that was our first night together. Within 3 months of that, she's telling me that she loves me. So yes, she was still hung up on her ex for a fact when we got together. I had thought or hoped that she was over him before this happened. Very weird set of circumstances to start dating someone with. And I think because of people like her, there's a lot of people out there, especially as I see on Hinge, that say, do not swipe with me if you are not over your ex. And because of situations like this, I feel like it reinforces the reason to have that as a boundary, because shit like this can and does happen as you're experiencing, because to me, it sounds like she's still not over her ex a little bit. And she's just sad that she got caught, not that she did it. You see where I'm coming from, OP? She doesn't have any remorse over the fact that, oh, I was talking, bad of you because I was comparing you to an ex that I'm not over. She doesn't care about that. She only cares and feels bad about it now that there are consequences because it is something bad to do. I feel like a lot of people would rightly just walk away from someone like that early on in a relationship when they are making such a gigantic fuss over not being over their ex. That is, to me at least, a monumental red flag, and I would stay the hell away, but I hope that you guys do break up because this is crazy, and that you don't repeat these same mistakes. That's on my wish list for today's story. And now, on to the update. The main thread has over 8,300 comments and is a couple of days old now, but I wanted to try and respond to some general thoughts. It is absolutely impossible for me to respond to everyone, or even most people, and at this point, putting up edits I think is counterproductive, because the thread's a few days old now, so I doubt people are going to go back and reread it. I don't want to make an update there yet, because I'm not really updating anything. Nothing has happened yet, per se. However, I have a few things to get off my chest, so this seems like the best place to do that before I update my OP. I've had so many people post on the original thread, and twice as many people send me their PMs telling me to hit the weight room and get in shape and transform myself into some form of weightlifting god. I'm sure that these people are all filled with the best of intentions. Well, not all of them, because I've also had several people call me all forms of names while telling me to hit the weights. Here's the problem for those people. They're using a stereotype about engineers and think that I fit that stereotype. I was a state finalist in wrestling in high school and got a partial scholarship to a Div 2 school for wrestling. I competed both my freshman and sophomore years. However, due to throwing a goddamn baseball, I tore my rotator cuff, and while my recovery had me well on my way back, my physical therapy prohibited me from being ready for my junior year. I didn't go back for my senior year, as my workload and girlfriend were too much to also dedicate the time for wrestling. Wrestling was very physically demanding and time-consuming. Now I freely admit that not training to compete did not leave me in even 1/8 the shape that I was in at my prime, but I have stayed in shape. To this day, I still lift and do cardio at my local gym. I've been getting my ass kicked lately by my friend, who is doing a Muay Thai workout. I've been trying to keep up with him, but I freely admit that I have a lot of leg work to do. Now this leads me to wanting to focus on a couple of other things. You will notice I said girlfriend. Contrary to what some of you have said or implied, I was not some incel neckbeard prior to meeting my fiancé. I've had several girlfriends, and yes, even a couple of NSA relationships, so that's why this bothered me more than it probably should have. In other words, prior to this, while I might not have been the world's most confident guy, I never felt like it was an issue. I've never ever had another woman say something like this in earshot of me about me. I mean, did they say it when I couldn't hear? I have no idea, but until the moment she said that, I never had any self-doubt or lack of confidence. Now, does me having this mental breakdown over this make me a man-child, weak, or straight-up pussy, as I've been called? I don't know. Maybe. Hell, probably. But bluntly speaking, I've never had anything like this happen to me before. Every breakup I've ever gone through was, for the most part, mature. I had a very childish breakup in high school, but does that even count? Also, to all of the geniuses that keep telling me to learn a new technique or practice, or just plain get better at sex, that's not the issue here, guys. She didn't say that I could work on the issue at hand. She straight up told her friend that I would never be able to measure up, so to speak, because of a physical attribute that I can do nothing about. I could become an oriental lick master, and at the end of the day, I'm never going to be able to finish her by jackhammering with what I can only imagine must be a 9-inch dong. Should that matter? Well, it fucking doesn't matter if it should matter, but it obviously does to her or she wouldn't have said it. I don't know of any single way that she can unring this bell. Which then brings me to the biggest thing that I want to get off my chest. There are several posters, both men and women, and ironically gay males over 30, who have a subreddit that I guess I'm a topic on, who have said that it's just sex. Well, those words do not exist in my vocabulary for someone I love. I admit that I had a couple of NSA partners in grad school, but even with them I developed feelings and had to part because I just could not do that. I don't do one-night stands, and since my mid-20s, I've only participated in sex via a relationship. I found out that I'm just not capable of having sex and just having sex. I get it. There are many of you who don't feel that way. Great for you. I don't feel that way, and I'm not going to fight myself to make myself feel that way. Do I need to be my fiancé's best ever? Well, why the hell should I not want that? If you would have asked me before that night, I would have thought that I was. But now I know that I'm not. Well, no, I'm not really okay with the fact that I can never measure up. I mean, if I could work on something or improve something or take some time or something, sure, but to hear her say that I can never be as good? Yeah, sorry, that's a little more than my ego can take. Call me whatever name you want, but it is what it is. But some of the really most disgusting stuff that was said to me is that I should be happy that she's with me and allows me to have sex with her, so she must want me. Allows me to have sex with her? I can't describe in enough words how that offends me. Maybe I've lived in a Disney fantasy world for me, but I've always wanted to be with someone who wanted to be with me, not someone who allows me out of some form of obligation. So does that make me a sissy, as a few of you have PM'd me? I don't care if it does. I refuse to be a person who begs for sex, period. If whoever I'm with does not want to be with me as much as I want to be with her, then fuck it. I'll just pay an escort and probably save myself money in the long run. Look, I don't know for sure what I'm going to do yet. I have a very strong feeling what I'm going to do, but I haven't done anything yet. If this is the wrong forum, just let me know. Anyway, I'll try and do my best to respond to posts here. Update 2. It all came to a head last night. She just came out and asked me if I didn't love her anymore, and all that I could tell her was that a very large part of me still did, but that what she did had really made it so that another part of me just didn't anymore. This started a larger conversation that I won't bore you with, but ultimately, it came down to me saying that I would have heard that he was just better at something, or more attentive to something, or was able to do something that I would have felt like I could have worked on. I would have listened to anything she wanted worked on, any technique or anything else that she would have shared with me, but to know that I was never going to measure up simply because of a physical issue was not something that I thought I could get over anytime soon, or if I ever could for that matter. I was being honest, and said that if it was just a one-night stand that she had or some random guy who was just huge, I might be able to get past that. But knowing that it was a guy who she was still madly in love with when I met her, and only after time did she ever start to come around, it was just more than I could handle. She kept trying to tell me how much better I was at everything else, and that I should not throw away a lifetime over one aspect. I told her that the one aspect, sadly, was just too high for me. Not all things are equal, and that honestly, it is a mental failing on my part that it is, but whether it's genetics or a learned trait, or whatever, that yes, I needed to be my spouse's best, and she has already made it clear that I can never be. I tried my best to be gentle. I tried to take all of the blame of stating that I knew that my attitude was probably not healthy, but it was who I am. By the way, I'm typing this as though this was a clean conversation. It wasn't. There was lots of crying by both of us. This is not a happy ending or even a satisfying one. I am beyond fucked up in the head over the entire situation. Everybody's Christmas is ruined. We had big family gatherings that we both were attending together, and now we have to somehow break it to our families what has happened. This alone is causing me massive stress because my parents loved her, and what in the hell am I gonna say is the reason why we're not together? She didn't cheat. And if I say that I felt like she was still hung up on her ex, she will obviously deny it, and she will tell them the truth. It's fucked up no matter how this goes down. In the end, I feel like a massive failure. I feel like a failure as a man because of not living up to comparison, and I feel like a failure because I wasn't able to just man up and either get over it. She has begged me to go to couples counseling, and initially I said no because at the end of the day, what does it change? We can talk about every single thing, and I can try and look at things from a different way, and at the end of the day, the woman who I wanted to marry just told one of our friends that no matter what I do, I will never be as good as her ex. I just cannot see 5 years from now ever being okay with this. But because she legitimately seems heartbroken, I agreed to go. But that does not mean that I will keep going. Today I moved out a lot of my stuff and am staying with a coworker for a few days until I can get a place for myself. She's been with her sister all day. I feel like shit. Thank you to everyone who took the time to type out a response. I honestly have tried to read everything, even if I didn't reply to very many. The bitch of all of this is that I still love her. There is so much of me right now that wants to pick up the phone and call her and beg her to come back. Edit. Well, once again, I posted this and then went away for a while. I went with my friend to see Mortal Engines, and then to dinner, and we've been talking for a long while, so I started reading a while ago. It's going to take me forever to read, and once again, I don't think responding individually will ever happen because of the large amount of posts and private messages. But thank all of you for reading and responding. Edit 2. I guess I do want to share one thing I spoke with her about. When we were having our very long conversation, I presented her with a scenario for her to compare. I know her well enough to know that comparing body parts or sexual prowess isn't going to impact her the same way that it would me. So I put the scenario to her like this. I said, what if you walked in and overheard me talking with my friend Tim, and you heard this? Jill's great, but she will never understand me and comfort me the way that Tiffany did. But it's not Jill's fault. Tiffany is just the smartest, most compassionate person I've ever known, and Jill just isn't as smart. Then if she would confront me about saying those things about her, that my response to her would have been, look, I love you for all of your other qualities. Nobody makes a sandwich like you do, and I think long term, you won't gauge me for my money. At first she tried to say that this was a totally different issue, but once we talked more about it, she finally agreed it is because of the way that we both approach and value sex. She ultimately admitted that this would really hurt her feelings, but she wouldn't break up with me over it. I then responded that even in my make-believe scenario, which by the way I would never say to anyone out loud about anyone I loved, she could improve her level of education and learn to be more compassionate. And now onto the final update. I wasn't going to post anymore, but I'm still getting daily direct messages wanting to know how things are going. I do appreciate the kind words and concerns. But just so anyone who cares can know, it's over. I went to counseling with her on 3 different occasions, and honestly, I tried to have an open mind about it, but at the end of the day, the obstacle was just too much to overcome. I even gave her an opportunity to walk back her statement or amend it, or, well, do whatever she wanted to do with it, but instead, she doubled down in a way. I think by that time, she was very frustrated as well. Neither of us are really happy about this. It's been an absolute nightmare for me trying to avoid telling people/family why we are no longer together. Of course, I tried the old, it's none of your business to some of them, but that failed spectacularly, and since I refused to tell, they decided that she cheated on me and started spreading that around. I've had to do a lot of damage control over that. I've decided to continue with therapy on a personal level because honestly, this entire thing has really messed with my head and I have no self-esteem left at all. I've only seen her once since we separated and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. She is now, justifiably so, in the angry stage. She is furious with me and has called me everything that you can imagine and then even made up some words. In the comments, Well Suck Me says, maybe don't compare your significant other to other people if they're great for you, or if you do, don't do it when they probably will hear. No one likes to be compared to anyone unless it builds them up. I guess they both learned something, kinda. Yeah, I don't get people who talk about their bedroom lives with people who are not in the bedroom with them. I also don't get doing a ranking system of past lovers. I keep picturing people furtively filling out forms on clipboards, marking things out of 10, like foreplay, eye contact, stamina, etc. People are really harsh on this guy. As a woman, if I heard, or just knew, my partner talking about my body or ability and comparing it to someone else's, I wouldn't quote-unquote get over it either. Especially if we were engaged and the person in question was an ex from years ago. And not just any ex at that, the one she was still grieving over when she first pursued him. I cannot. Anyway guys, that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.